Hello friends, today again I have come with a new video, but before I start this video, it is my humble request to you all that if you like the video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Your subscription will give me the impetus, the energy and the inspiration to make more videos and in some way help both of us in enhancing our understanding of English literature. Today I will talk about naturalism. Naturalism is an international movement in drama and prose fiction which flourished during the final years of the 19th century and the early years of the 20th century. Now, in literature, naturalism is an approach that attempts to apply scientific principles of objectivity and detachment to its study of human beings. It's a theory which believes that literary compositions should be based on an objective, empirical composition of human beings. Naturalism, we also can say, is more scientific, more specific as compared to realism. The naturalistic writers regard human behavior as controlled by instinct, emotion, and social and economic condition, and they also reject the free will. It adopts large measures, the biological determinism of Charles Darwin and the economic determinism of Karl Marx. So, it's a combination which looks into the biological determinism of Charles Darwin and the economic determinism of Karl Marx. Naturalism's affinity to science becomes very clear if you pay attention to what Paul Alexis has said. What does Paul Alexis say? He says that naturalism is a way of thinking, of seeing, of reflecting, of studying, of making experiments, a need to analyze in order to know rather than a particular style of writing. In the 19th century, French writers, especially Edmond Louis, Antonio de Goncourt, Jules Alfred and Émile Zola exhibited naturalism through their writings. Zola, who is also considered to be the high priest of naturalism, was inspired by his readings in history and medicine. So, Zola is considered to be the high priest of naturalism. Next, what we see is, why do we consider Zola to be high priest of naturalism? Because Zola tried to apply the methods of scientific observation to the depiction of pathological human character in the series of his novels devoted to several generations of single French family. His essay, The Experimental Novel, which was published in 1880 and was translated in 1993, explains his theory of literary naturalism. So he wrote an essay called The Experimental Novel, and here he explains what did he exactly mean by naturalism, and this is the reason why Émile Zola is considered to be the high priest of naturalism. Now, if we look into United States of America, naturalism is very closely linked to the social and the economic problems. In the United States, naturalistic elements in drama was as a result of the linkage which naturalism provided between this form of writing, that is naturalism, which was very closely linked to the social and the economic problems. And what were the social and economic problems that naturalism depicted in USA? The struggles of the poor and the mechanizations of the capitalists were the main theme of naturalistic writings, which was very clearly evident in the novels of Dreiser or in the short stories of Stephen Crane. And the greatest example is Steinbeck's famous work Grapes of Wrath, in which he shows how the powerful combines took over the small holdings, leaving the poorer without food, the poor people, the common people without food, and even without home. American naturalism is more closely related to the local factors than to the outside influences. Although Darwin, Marx, Comte and Spencer, they made a very deep impact, but not with the same immediacy as was felt across the Atlantic. The effect of Zola in America is not easy to access, partly because of the conflicting statements that were made by some of the American naturalists such as Dreiser and Crane. As an American naturalism arose out of social and economic problems, as we discussed earlier also, naturalism in America arose out of social and economic problems which presented it in a different aspect from the European naturalist movement. Why? Because in America there was not, it was not a movement which was made by a very large group, huge group protesting and making all sorts of statements and giving a voice to the unknown in a mass. That was not the case. In America, there were no groups that were united as compared to the European naturalist. But in European naturalism, there was groups who had common aims and common manifestos, and with that they unified, and the movement gained a lot of momentum. But in America it was not. It was writers who individualistically, through their tremendous naturalistic writings, kicked off this movement and made this movement very successful. So in America it was more a matter of successive waves of writers. When we talk in America the waves of writing, naturalistic writing, then we need to talk about the two waves of naturalistic writing that emerged in America. One wave, that is the first wave, spanned from the mid 1880s till about the till about the closing of the century, where prominent writers such as Hamlin Garland, Stephen Crane and Frank Norris, Hamlin Garland, Stephen Crane and Frank Norris were the prominent naturalist American writers who belonged to the first wave of naturalism. The second wave, which began after the 1900s, included an illustrious group of writers such as Theodore Dreiser, Jack London, John Steinbeck, Sinclair Lewis, Upton Sinclair, Sherwood Anderson and James T. Farrell, to name a few. Naturalism in the US was a view of man and of society, and it was a style of writing which was in consonance with the age, and this is why it appears in so many diverse writers over such a longer period of time. That is how American naturalism is different from European naturalism. If you like this video, it is my humble request, please subscribe to this channel of mine. Thank you very much for patiently watching this video. See you soon.